Would you like to know the one mistake that planners make that sabotages AV before it even starts? Well, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Event Pro Show, your ultimate guide to the world of corporate events. Whether you're a corporate event planner, experiential marketing pro, producer, technician, or anyone involved in creating exceptional events, this podcast is your go-to resource for valuable insights, expert tips, and inspiring stories from the industry's leading professionals.
Well, welcome to the Event Pro Show. My name is Seth Macchi. I'm the CEO of LEMG. We're an event production company based in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we work with corporate event planners across the country to pull off high-impact events that don't fall apart behind the curtain. And so I want to start today with something I've seen quite often. And honestly, I think it's the biggest reason why so many planners feel like AV is this giant question mark or stressor in the lead up to a big show. You know, we have relationships with event planners all over the country. In fact, I'm the president-elect of MPI Carolinas chapter currently. And there are tons of planners there that are friends, and in conversations, you hear this thing that I'm going to address that comes up quite often. And it's not that planners don't know what they're doing. In fact, I would say of all the planners that I know that are out there working every day to put on events for their clients or the companies that they work for, all of them are super sharp people. They know what they're doing. They're very overworked for the most part. They're just busy, and that's a big part of being a planner. And I realize that. But they're just juggling a million things, working under pressure. They've inherited some habits that we'll just say it makes AV harder than it needs to be. So here's the deal. Most AV problems don't start during setup on site. They don't start on show day. They start weeks or even months earlier. And it usually comes down to this. Planners wait too long to loop in their AV partners. And it might extend to other partners within your corporate events as well, for whatever reason. But I'm speaking from an AV focus. So it's not because planners are careless, because they think they need to have everything figured out is really what's going on. So, and I'll say that again, it's not that planners don't know what they're doing. It's not that they're careless. A lot of times is that they feel like they have to have everything bundled up and all the questions answered before they reach out. And so I think what happens is we create this lag that affects everything down the line. And I get that. You want to come in prepared with polished ideas, but the truth is the sooner that you loop in your AV team, the better your ideas get. And sometimes that's a little counterintuitive. But you get better solutions, you get more accurate budgets from the start, more flexibility, and less stress. And I realize some of the reasons why it's taking so long to loop in your AV partner has nothing to do with you. It's that there's a bottleneck in information farther up the chain, and you're kind of beholden to that. But I'm kicking off a 5-part podcast series called The AV Advantage. And in it, I'm breaking down the entire AV process from that very first brainstorm all the way to lights up on the show so that we can improve the parts of this process that we can affect. So I acknowledge that some of the slowdown has nothing to do with you, but there are parts that you can work on and improve that help the overall process work much more seamlessly. So in this 5-part series that's coming up, I want to walk through a few things. So I'm going to walk through these things, how to build creative with your AV partner instead of around them. So instead of circumnavigating and trying to have everything figured out, bring them in. Let's work on it together. How time can literally save your budget. So we'll get into that, how you can utilize time as a leverage to improve your budget numbers. What to include in an RFP that gets you actual apples to apples proposals, planners, listen to me on this. We will share with you tips on how to outline your RFP so that when you get proposals back, you know that you're looking at true comparisons. I mean, how many times have you gotten a quote from vendor A versus vendor B? You go with vendor A because they look cheaper, but it turns out that they didn't put in all of the add-ons that they were going to add, and vendor B did. It was actually a better quote. You just couldn't tell when you were trying to make that decision. And aren't we all just trying to make decisions with imperfect information? So if we can perfect the information that you're getting on the front end a little bit better, you can make better decisions and ultimately affect your budget, affect the project itself. You end up working with partners that you feel are more honest in how their approach with you. The whole thing works better. We're going to talk about what your AV partner wishes you'd ask before the show. And we're going to talk about how to make game day execution feel calm and controlled, even when things change. And you guys know they always change. So how we can set up to be a little bit more flexible on site for that game day execution. This matters now because we're in this season where expectations are sky high, budgets are getting squeezed, teams are running lean, planners are being asked to pull off award-worthy events with fewer resources, tighter turnarounds, less room for error. How many times over the last few years have we all gotten to the end of a show, everybody's high fives all around, and the client's super happy, best show ever. And by the way, we want to do this next year and we need to do it for 10% less and for 10% more impact. It's just year over year, we're constantly dealing with that. So let's work on that. Let's work on how we can accomplish more with a little more thought into this. And this series is all about making that possible, giving you real tools, real strategy, a little behind the scenes look at how to make the AV part of your event smoother, smarter, more impactful, all of those really great words. We're going to try to give you some tools. So if you've ever said, I just wish AV wasn't such a wild card, then this series is for you. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the Event Pro Show. Don't miss episode 1 that will be coming out in 2 weeks. And if you're a listener of the show, you get how we work. The way that the Event Pro Show works is 1 week we have a wonderful guest that is corporate event centric. So that it's not necessarily an AV person. It could be a CVB person. It could be an experiential marketing person. It could be whatever. Anybody that touches corporate events. I want to introduce you to another great person that you would just need to know, someone that's great to just jot down. That's someone that I'd love to connect with. And then the other week, every other week, is a solo episode where I bring you more detailed information and tools, tips, tricks on how to work better with your AV provider in your corporate events. So that's how we work. We work on kind of an every other week schedule, but we have an episode every week. So subscribe where you can. Next week's episode, or the next solo episode in 2 weeks' time, it's the first episode in this series, and it's going to be called Design It Right, Collaborating Early for Smarter AV. So we're going to talk about collaboration. I'm going to show you how to bring your partners in early without needing all the answers. So that'll be the kickoff episode of this 5-part series. I'm really excited about it. I think this will be a good one. And hey, if you know any other planners that have been burned by AV before, send this to them. Help them skip the stress next time. But until then, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. The Event Pro Show is a production of LEMG, video by Nick Barrett, audio and post-production by Prince Thompson. You can learn more about us at lemg.live.